I think what I'm pointing to here is like, it just depends on how you define wealth, right? How do you define a rich life? How do you define meaning? That's the most important thing you could do in the whole realm of financial planning, investing, anything, is get clear first on how you define these things. Why are you doing them in the first place? What does wealth mean to you? What's important about money to you? Is it freedom? Is it security? Is it outperforming your neighbors? Is it having a daily driver Lamborghini? Like whatever it is, get clear about it. And then you can align all these other choices.
Welcome back to the Retirement Fiduciary Podcast, a place where we have authentic, no BS discussions about retirement planning, investment strategies, and wealth management. Whether you're approaching retirement or if you've already made work optional, this show is for you. Now, here's your host, Adam Koós, President, Portfolio Manager, and Senior Financial Advisor at Libertas Wealth Management Group at libertaswealth.com.
Welcome back to the Retirement Fiduciary Podcast. Today, I'm joined with Carl Richards, a keynote speaker, author, and visual artist who has an incredible gift for making complex financial ideas radically simple and deeply human. For more than a decade, you've known Carl as the originator of the Sketch Guy column in the New York Times, where his handwritten sketches turn financial complexity into clarity. His work's been featured on NPR, Harvard Business Review, Morningstar, and it's been used by financial professionals around the globe. And what we're talking about a little bit today is Carl's latest book, which is titled Your Money, Reimagining Wealth in Simple Sketches. And it invites us to look at money differently, not just as numbers on a piece of paper, but as a lens for meaning, clarity, and conversations that actually matter. On top of all that, I've had the pleasure of knowing him for a few years now, and we finally just found some time in our schedules to make this happen. So, Carl, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Adam. I'm really excited for the conversation.
Yeah. So let's jump right into it. Your story, your path into finance, kind of like mine, but we're talking about you today, was not exactly the most traditional in the world. So, your work as the sketch guy in the New York Times made financial ideas accessible to millions. Can you share how you started using sketches to explain money and why you think they resonate so deeply with people as opposed to the traditional conversations that financial advisors have with their clients?
Yeah, I actually think this story is useful particularly for your audience and especially anybody who's running a business. But it's always tempting to look back and talk about something that now appears to be a success as if it was all part of a grand strategy, right? Like make up cute little stories about it. But the truth is, I was just trying to solve one little problem at a time. And the problem that started the sketches was sitting across from really smart, successful clients. I actually remember who they were, the very first one. I was trying to explain a concept. I was getting blank stares. and that had happened to me before, but this was the first time it sort of dawned on me that, wait, they're super smart and they're not understanding. It must be me. And so I wasn't a doodler in high school, right? No art background. I out of an act of desperation, there was a whiteboard in the shared conference room that I used. I'd never used the whiteboard before, but I stood up and I drew something on the whiteboard, like some boxes and an arrow and a circle or something. And I remember them saying, "Oh, I get it now." And so I was just trying to solve a problem. There was no like, I wonder if I do this, it will end up as a book. Like there was none of that. And then I did it again. Like the next time somebody asked about a question, I was like, no, I think it's like this. And then I noticed myself doing it at a restaurant literally on a napkin or on the notebook that I had. Then I was like, man, maybe I should put these on the internet. And really it was anytime I got asked a question twice, the second time I would be like, oh, that's the second time somebody's asked that question. I'll write down my answer and I'll put it on a blog, back in the day. And so it was just like, and one thing led to another and one thing led to another. And I think to me, I can't make much sense of it, but the lesson to me is like, just kind of keep following. I call it tailwind. And there's two lessons. One, increase your luck surface area, because so much of what happened to me is just luck. But I will acknowledge I did some work to increase the luck surface area. And number two, right, notice tailwind. When something shows up and more people are asking for it, I was like, okay, I'll do that. Like, So that's kind of the story about how this all ended up happening.
And then I feel like you've got a mind for this too, because I've tried to create a couple sketches, and I can't do it. I mean, I'm very creative from a standpoint of music. My office, the people in my staff here, they always call me the king of analogies, so I can come up with stories that help make
Yeah.
stuff make sense. But I don't know how you build it into pictures so simply. And that's the other piece. You're not just building it into pictures, but you're making it so simple. And
Yeah.
it seems like it would take a lot of work, but it's just a gift you have, I guess.
No, it takes a lot of work.
Does it really?
Yeah, I mean, maybe there's some gift buried down there that I don't know, but it takes a lot of work. Like, there's plenty of these that are what you're seeing is, I mean, I would imagine since some of these are more than 15 years old, the
Wow.
ones you're seeing in the book, there are some that I bet are 1,000 iterations,
Oh,
but
wow.
certainly plenty of them that are 100.
Let's
And
talk about the book.
almost none of them are less than 20, and that's me throwing pieces of cardstock over my shoulder, like, so yeah.
I can
So
picture
yeah,
it. Yeah.
it is a lot of work.
I could picture it. Well, you mentioned the book, so let's talk about that. So, Your Money, Reimagining Wealth in Simple Sketches. What inspired you to write it, and how do you hope it changes the way people are thinking about money?
Yeah, the real goal here, there's 101 sketches, 101 essays. The essays are super short. None of them will take you more than 3 minutes to read. The real goal here was to give people a tool to start more meaningful conversations. I had noticed that I get all these emails from people. Sometimes they'd include pictures. Like, somebody would take a screenshot of one of the sketches, they would tape it to their wall or the fridge or in the break room. And then I'd get these emails that would say, and none of the emails is really interesting, kind of heartbreaking. None of the emails said, "This is so visually striking," or "This is beautiful piece of art." None of them said that. They all talked about the conversations. "Hey, I put this in the break room, and suddenly one of my employees and I were talking about this," or "I had this in the sitting out on the counter, and my daughter and I got in this conversation." And so I was like, "Wow, that's exactly what I had hoped, that these would be conversation starters." So then I thought, well, what if I collect them in a book? There's something unique about a book, like, and the book sitting as a approachable coffee table book, or taken on a road trip. So that's what I'm hoping, is that it will just be, you can flip it to any page and be like, "What do you make of this?" Like, it will just be, in fact, I'm calling it a conversation grenade. It's not a book, it's a
Yeah.
conversation grenade. You throw it in a room and conversations break out.
Yeah, no, I love it. And you mentioned goals. I mean, you mentioned to me before your goal isn't to make people slightly better with money, but to completely change the way they see it. I mean, how would you unpack that?
I'm pretty convinced that we're not bad with money, we're just asking the wrong questions. And, like, I love the idea, like, what if you're not bad with money? What if you're just giving it jobs it can't do? And what if we
Mm.
got clear about that instead? Because I think if we've taught anything about money, we were taught it belonged in the math department. It was a spreadsheets and calculators problem. And then suddenly, right, like I've been saying a lot lately, 2 plus 2 always equals 4, but 2 plus 2 never equals greed, and we're like, how did I open the Amex bill and suddenly I'm in a fight? I just opened a bill. Like, what? I don't understand. And I think if that, to me, is where the confusion starts. If instead we started to see money for what it is, right? A tool, and almost everything we're talking about around money is just a story we've layered on top of the tool. We can maybe have a shot at putting money in its proper place. Like, you would never go out to the garage thinking you needed a screwdriver and then be like mad that the screwdriver wasn't a hammer. You're like, "Why can't you do the job of a like, I don't understand. I'm so mad. I need to get new screwdrivers." No, 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 no. That's the job that a screwdriver doesn't do. A hammer does that job. And I just think we've missed the plot, right? It's become money often is like, for many of us, it's become the organizing principle of our lives, money and work. Like, we'll fit the kids in, right? We'll fit our health in. We'll fit
Yeah,
sleep. I'll sleep later because money and work are at the center.
that's
And
a
I think
great point.
if we just start shifting that, we'll start asking different questions. We'll start seeing our relationship with money differently. Then the budgeting app you use, like, that's easy. The investment process, probably pretty simple, at least. right? If I get if I get my relationship with money right.
Yeah, there's a lot of layers here. That's interesting. I always
Yeah.
like to say that, money, all it is a unit of choice. The more units you have, the more choices we have, right? But
Yeah.
I mean, many people, I think, we work with over 320 clients here, but many people heading to retirement, they're worried that they're going to have enough, or they get caught up in stock market fears, the apocalypse du jour, what's going on in politics today. Why do you think it is that the emotional side of money is so often overlooked? And
Mm.
how people looking to retire soon or already retired can better navigate those feelings?
Yeah. So Adam, I want to just make a statement here, and I hope everybody listening can just like settle in and like really hear this. Um, there will never be enough money to pay for all your fears.
Quote of the
Like
day.
it is not going to happen.
I'm writing
That's
that
a
one down.
that's a different job. There will never be enough money to pay for all your fears. And so even if I've got 50,000 spreadsheets that show you're going to be okay, I know more people with the type of money that they will never be able to spend that are still worried tomorrow's the day it all goes away. Then I know, it was easier for me to find somebody with enough. I did a project around enough. It was easier for me to find somebody who felt like they had enough that had almost nothing. It was easier to find that than a billionaire that felt like they had enough.
Wow.
And so all that is it's a different job. And so the reason it's so hard, the emotional side of money, if we want to call it that, I think of it as the money's emotional operating system. The reason we don't talk about it is because we didn't even understand it existed. We thought it was supposed to be a bigger calculator. If I just get more, I'll finally feel secure. One of my visions of money, I wonder this, and maybe your listeners could do this. Like if money were to walk in the room right now, like some personified version of money walked in and you actually, let's pretend this. You show up at your favorite coffee shop and it's the kind of coffee shop that's quiet. You go there with friends and have great conversations. You show up there one day, you sit at your favorite table, and sitting across from you is money, like some personified version of money. There's two very interesting questions. The first one is like, what would you ask it? And that's super interesting to just think about. But the question I'm most curious about is, what do you think it would say to you? And I have this vision whenever I think about that as money being a very earnest but incredibly disappointed golden retriever, right? Like the kind that wants nothing more than to please you, but it's so disappointed, and it says to you, it says to me in this dream I have of money, it says to me like, "Gosh, I'm so sorry," right? Like I tried that whole enough thing. I tried, like that was a job you gave me. That love thing, happiness, security,
Yeah.
freedom. I tried so hard. It turns out I just can't do that. I'm a 0 and 1 in a cloud, right? Like, so that's why I think it's so hard is because we just haven't even realized that money is a 0 and 1 until we give it a story. We give it meaning. Well, what meaning are you giving it? Is it a job it can do? That's sort of like how I would think about why it's so hard for us is money cannot pay for all your fears. If enough is a number, you'll never have it. You will never have it because once you get there, you'll want just a little more. So it's different work.
I can't stop picturing the golden retriever shaking his head.
Like, just, I'm
Yeah.
so sorry.
Man.
I
Yeah.
tried, right?
If you had to give, let's just say, of all the sketches, and whether it's an old one or a new one, if you had to give one sketch or idea that every retiree or soon-to-be
Hmm.
retiree should keep in mind, what would it be? What's your favorite one?
Yeah, for that specific group, it's called Spend the Money, and I can't remember what number it is in the book. I think it's 35 or something like that, 37.
We'll try to pull it
Eh,
up and put on the frame here.
yeah, it's imagine a Venn diagram so that and one circle is labeled people you love and the other circle is labeled experiences. So two circles, people you love, experiences. The overlap is labeled spend the money. And there should be an exclamation mark. There's not, but there should be. When I redo the book, I'm going to put an exclamation mark there. Like spend the money because if you're quote unquote successfully retired, you probably got there because you had a set of habits, either some luck or inheritance or whatever, but most likely you had a set of habits. And those habits probably include discipline, maybe a little frugality, but it often includes delayed gratification. Like, I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait. Well, that habit's become so ingrained and it was so useful to you. Like, thank it, like deep thanks. It was so useful to you that now you're having a hard time unwinding that habit. And again, all the spreadsheets could prove to you, you have enough, like, go take the trip,
Yeah.
right? Like, I've always wanted to help my kids in their mid 30s when they have a couple kids, like, get into a house. I've always wanted to take my granddaughter to, wants to learn to sail. I learned to sail. We live on the shore. I've always wanted to take her on for sailing camp. Like, whatever it is, that trip to the trip to Europe, the trip to the next town, who cares what it is? Like, spend the money because one day you're not going to have that option. And money spent on experiences with people you love have absolutely proven to be the highest ROI outside of maybe spending on causes you care deeply about. Those
That
two
makes sense.
are the highest ROI expenditures of money. So why not make those investments?
We were just talking to a client about this yesterday about how we always talk about front loading your expenses because that first decade, maybe 15 years when you're the healthiest and most able, those are the times when, you can have the most fun and enjoy the money as opposed to trying to put it off, put it off, put it off. And then you're 80, not that some people out there aren't just amazingly healthy at 80 and can't spend their money. They can, but that's really interesting.
Yeah.
And you've said before, you've talked about numbers and wealth as versus, wealth is numbers and wealth is meaning. So from your perspective, what would you say the difference is between those two things, and maybe explain it a little bit? Wealth is numbers and wealth is meaning.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends on how it's funny because, I mean, a lot of people, even with plenty of money, don't necessarily consider themselves wealthy. My daughter, actually, I'll tell you a quick story. Just a couple weeks ago, we were on a mountain bike ride. We were high up on a ridge I can see out the window. And she was home for a couple weeks from school. And we were high up on a ridge, and she said, we were having a conversation, and she said something like, "We're the wealthiest family I know." She's 21.
Wow.
And I had the experience of like, no, we're not. Like, I felt it. And I even said something like, well, what are you talking about? Like, what about so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so, right? They have a private jet. Like, we're nowhere near, right? And she was like, no, no, no. First of all, she was like, that's so interesting that that's your response. And I was like, gosh, you little, like, I didn't ask for a Zen lesson from my 20-year-old today, but I was super grateful for it. And then she said, no, 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 that's not what I mean by wealth. I mean, we've historically always kind of done what we wanted, right? Like, we're here on a Tuesday on a mountain bike ride at 11, right? Like, we've had that kind of flexibility. That's what I mean by wealth. And then I was like, oh, yeah, we are. I'm glad you think, I'm glad you think we're, but there's so much there in that story. Like, my response was interesting. My own feelings were interesting.
Yeah.
But I think what I'm pointing to here is like, it just depends on how you define wealth, right? How do you define a rich life? How do you define meaning? And I think that to me, that's the most important thing you could do in the whole realm of financial planning, investing, anything, is get clear first on how you define these things. Why are you doing them in the first place? What does wealth mean to you? What's important about money to you? Is it freedom? Is it security? Is it outperforming your neighbors? Is it having a daily driver Lamborghini? Like, whatever it is, get clear about it. And then you can align all these other choices around it.
That's great. Yeah. And I'm going to change gears here for a second, but a lot of talk about AI these days. I think the talk about robo-advisors is kind of I don't want to say it's a thing of the past, but I feel like robo-advisor has been replaced with AI. And for those who don't know what that is, who are listening, individuals, couples, business owners out there, robo-advisors were the old robots that were going to manage your money and help you, get retired and stay that way. And now there's a lot of talk of, is AI going to replace, financial advisors and financial advice? So what role do you think human advice and the behavioral part of this equation is going to continue to play for retirees and people looking to retire or make work optional someday?
Yeah. Well, to be clear, I do think that AI is going to replace a lot of advisors who don't know what they're doing, right? Advisors who have have a misplaced idea of what their value is. Um, but the ones who do know what they're doing, right, it's only going to become more important. And here's the way I think about it. I'm a huge fan of the idea of self-driving money. Like I started thinking about this a while ago and I was like, man, it's going to be amazing when money just drives itself. I don't have to think about it. Incredible. And but I was recently in a Waymo, the
Uh-huh.
sort of self-driving taxis that in Los Angeles. And I'm gonna tell you, it was an amazing experience, and it felt way safer than the Uber ride that I took right before, way safer. But I still had to tell it where I wanted to go,
There we
right?
go.
And maybe just as importantly, if I saw something along the way, "Oh, man, I wanna stop at that park or that store or that." I still needed to say, "Hey, whoa, 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 you know what? I know I said I wanted to go there, but I'm thinking this might be really important." So to me, that's gonna be increasingly important is the role of another human in helping me see my blind spots, but more importantly, the continued process of aligning how I'm using my money with what's actually important to me. And both of those are never-ending processes till the day we die, we're gonna be getting more and more clear. Like, "Oh, that turns out I thought I wanted to go there, but, the $5 million in the sailboat, gosh, we don't love sailing. We don't love sailing. Turns out we may just wanna live close to the kids. Hey, okay, what does that look like?" So that's how I think about it.
Yeah. Well, let's close up talking about the book. It's coming out on October 21st. I've already pre-ordered it. I'm excited to in fact, I think I'm gonna get 2, one for the office and the conference table and one for home because I think you're right.
Oh, thank you.
When we talked last time, we talked about how it, more from the standpoint of giving financial advice and talking to our clients. But the more I think about it, I think it'd be great conversations with my kids and people who come over and hang out. But where's the
Mm.
best place to purchase this? Connect with you?
Yeah, my favorite idea is buy 2 copies like you have. One from your local bookstore because 'cause we're big fans of local bookstores, and one from Amazon because that helps get the word out to more people.
Yeah.
So you can get it at any bookstore. We just tried this at a teeny little bookstore in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. My daughter went in and asked if she could pre-order it, and they said, "Of course we can get that book." So yeah,
That's awesome.
anywhere you get books.
Awesome. One more question for you, and this is completely out of left field on purpose. You, for a while there, you had a beard, and then you see these videos out there of the guys that'll shave their beards and then shock their wives when they come around the corner, and all of a sudden they don't have a beard. Did you do that to your wife?
Well, I mean, listen, you asked the question. So one of the most recent iteration I didn't, but a couple of years ago, I had a really big beard, and it was when we lived in New Zealand, and I went to Australia for a speaking engagement, and I was out on a walk, and I passed a barber shop, and I was like, I went in and had him shave, but I told him, wait, before you shave it off, leave a really unkept, rather disgusting and then there's plenty of mustaches that are awesome. I
Oh,
said,
no.
intentionally leave this as a, like, kind of not an awesome one, and I took pictures, that you couldn't tell I was still at the barber shop,
That is so funny.
and then I sent the pictures and I had him then shave it off, and my wife just literally replied with 3 words, "Delete, delete, delete." She's like, "You will not be allowed back in the country." So anyway, I have played those games, so thanks for asking.
That's awesome. All right. Well, that's our time today. Check out Carl's new book, Your Money and Reimagining Wealth in Simple Sketches. Comes out on October 21st. You can pre-order it now. Like I mentioned, I've already pre-ordered it on Amazon. And in fact, I'm going to take that advice and go to one of the small local bookstores and give them some business as well, because I think that's really cool. So check it out. Get on their waiting list for your own copy. And I love this, but I'm a book listener. So I'm only
Mhm.
buying the physical copies for my office and home, but I don't know what it is about me. If I read a book, I'll get through 2 pages and I'll realize I haven't read anything. Now, granted, these are
Yeah,
picked, it's a little different kind of book, right? I mean, it's
yeah,
images, but so he's also put an audiobook out there on Apple Books and Audible, which is awesome. I always love when people do that. So thank you for doing that. So if you're more like me and
yeah.
you're more of a listener than a reader, then get both. And if you want, were you
Yeah,
gonna say something?
Adam, let me just mention to you, I just finished recording the audiobook, and look, there was some discussion about whether we should just not even mention the sketches, but we went the other way. I do full art on the radio. So I describe them. And so you actually get some stuff from the audiobook that you don't get from the physical book. Because I talk a bit about where they came from, the background. I'm really jazzed about the audiobook. Yeah.
Awesome.
Really jazzed. Yeah.
Well, if you'd like to connect with Carl, we put all the information in the show notes. Check out behaviorgap.com. Check out the book. And as always, I always say there's thousands and thousands of podcasts out there these days. You chose to give hours a listen. So thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you like a second opinion on your retirement plan or investment strategy, please head over to libertaswealth.com. This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be considered as legal, financial, tax, or as a basis for investment decisions. Always consult a certified financial planner or a fee-only fiduciary advisor before acting on any ideas discussed.